These are rocks. Rocks are made of minerals, and rocks are classified based on how they form. There are three different types of rocks: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. In this video, we will be talking about sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rocks are made when tiny pieces of rock and sand, called sediments, get squeezed and cemented together. That means glued together over time. Before we go into more detail, let's talk about sediment. Sediments are pieces and fragments of rock that have been broken down as a result of weathering by wind, ice, water, gravity, or other agents. For example, let's look at this rock here. We saw this in an earlier video. Over the years, wind and water and other agents of weathering broke this down into tiny pieces, and that's what sediment is, those tiny pieces. There are different types of sediments, and we classify sediments by size. The tiniest sediments are called clay. Clay particles are so small that you typically need a microscope to see them. The largest sediments are called boulders. Yes, a boulder is considered to be a sediment. Silt, sand, pebbles, and cobbles are in between in size. Sedimentary rocks are formed when a bunch of these sediments pile up. Sometimes you get things like bones and shells and leaves mixed into this as well. The sediments then get squeezed and stuck together over time, and by this I mean over millions of years. There are two main steps that occur when you make sedimentary rock. The first is called compaction, which is the process in which the sediments get squeezed together. This happens because over very long stretches of time, we're talking millions of years, sediments get covered by more sediments, which get covered by more sediments, and so on. Layers of sediment are piled on top of each other, and so over time, the weight of the sediments on top pushes on the sediments on the bottom and squeezes them together. The second step is cementation, and this is what glues the sediments together. The sediments that get compacted usually have water around them, or water seeps into them eventually. When the water evaporates, minerals that are dissolved in them seep into the tiny spaces. Chemical changes occur, and the particles are effectively glued together. The minerals quartz and calcite are often involved in cementation, serving as the glue that holds the sediments together. Just remember, cementation sounds like cement because that's what it's doing. There are many types of sedimentary rocks, and they all look a little different depending on the type of sediments. Some sedimentary rocks, like this conglomerate here, are made of larger pieces of sediment. You can see some of the small pebbles that have been incorporated into this rock. Breccia is another sedimentary rock that's made up of large pieces of sediment that have been compacted and cemented together. This piece of sandstone is made of compacted sand. Siltstone is made of compacted silt. Silt is a sediment that's smaller than sand. Shale is a sedimentary rock made of compacted clay. The sediment is even smaller here. Sedimentary rocks are the only type of rock that can contain fossils or evidence of past life. Remember how we said that bones or leaves sometimes end up in the sediment? Sometimes these fossilize. Here are some pictures of sedimentary rocks that have fossils in them. Fossils can't happen in igneous and metamorphic rocks because the heat and pressure used to form these rocks is so high that the leaves and bones and shells would be destroyed. This coquina is a sedimentary rock that consists of fragments of the shells of mollusks, trilobites, and other ancient sea creatures. Some types of limestone are also made of tiny fragments of ancient shells. The White Cliffs of Dover are an example of limestone that was made of the shells of tiny organisms living in the ocean. So are the cliffs of Étretat in France. Not all sedimentary rocks form through this compaction and cementation process. Chemical sedimentary rocks are formed by crystallization of dissolved minerals that precipitate out. Limestone, chalk, and gypsum are examples of chemical sedimentary rocks. These limestone stalactites formed through this process as well. Organic sedimentary rocks are made of bodies of living organisms. Coal comes from plants that died over millions of years ago. The bodies of these plants piled up in layers and were compacted. When they were exposed to high temperatures beneath the Earth's surface, their atoms rearranged to form something very different from the plants they once were. In summary, sedimentary rocks happen when sediments get squeezed and stuck together through compaction and cementation. Sedimentary rocks are also the only rocks that can contain fossils.